My name is Roseanne and welcome to my home. If you've clicked on this video, you already have a fair idea about what I'm talking about. If this isn't your kind of thing, I totally respect that, and I have plenty of other videos you can watch. But if you find this kind of topic interesting or important, it would be really helpful if you watch it from beginning to end. That is one of the most important things you can do to have YouTube know that a video is important. And at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you some other things that you can do to kind of get this word out that Christ belongs in Christmas. I'm very blessed, and I was brought up in a home where I was taught why we have Christmas and what is important about that, and was also shown some things that we have around that remind us of Christ at Christmas. And I'm going to talk about those and a few experiences I've had with my granddaughter recently. One thing I believe about this is that it's really important for it just to be part of your everyday language. You can just sit down and give your children or your family members a lecture about it, and that might help. But it's far more effective if you just live the life of someone who believes in Christ and values Christmas and Easter for what they really are. And then you'll find that these things come up in natural conversations. So my granddaughter went with me when we went to the store, and I bought these ornaments that have the names of Christ on them, like Only Begotten, Redeemer. This one down here says Lord of Lords. There's a Messiah and different ones. So we were hanging them on the tree, which is why they only go so far up. And she said, "Grandma, did you know that red and green are the Christmas colors?" And I said, "Yes, and there's also gold." Said, "Do you know why?" No, she wasn't sure why. So I said, "Well, we have red because it represents the blood of Christ that he shed for us." And she was like, "Oh, yeah," because she knew that story. Okay, that made sense. Well, what about the green? I told her, "Have you ever noticed that we use evergreen trees for Christmas?" That is because they don't shed their needles. They're always green, which helps represent the fact that because of Christ, we can have life forever, that we can live forever, we can be resurrected, all because of Christ. And also, the tree points up, it's pointing to heaven, and helps us remember Jesus that way. She said, "Oh, we have the star because the star was over the manger." And I said, "That's exactly right." She said, "I knew that. That's why all of our trees had to have a star," because she was the one that really insisted on that. I do have one tree without a star. We're not happy about that, so Grandma's got to go buy another star for that tree. So all the trees in our house have a star on them. Then I said, "Avery, do you know why we have candy canes?" She didn't know that. I said, "Well, it's because of the shepherds. This is called a shepherd's crook, and that helps the shepherd take care of the sheep." "Oh, yeah, and the shepherds." She remembered the shepherds. I said, "Yes, the shepherds were like the lowliest people. They were out in the fields taking care of their sheep, and they probably had their shepherd's crooks with them. And then the angels came. And what did the angels do?" And she said, "They sang." I said, "That's right. That's one of the reasons we have music at Christmas. Of course, people celebrate things with music. So it's just only natural we're going to have Christmas music." "Yeah, okay." She's like, "Okay." And I said, "There's a reason the candy canes are red and white." And she was thinking about, she says, "The red is like the red." And I said, "That's right. It helps us remember Christ's sacrifice for us. The white represents his purity. So he was perfect." That was just okay with her. That was okay. We moved on from the tree, and we were in the other room because I decorated this room first. My idea this year is I'll decorate a room at a time, then I'll make the videos about it. Then I'll do another room, and I'll make the videos about that. And the very last room would be the entry. And I needed to do it last because you can see all of the other rooms. So we came into the family room, and she was watching me as I put the lights on the tree. And she knew that we have lights because of the stars in the sky. She suddenly said to me, "Grandma, where's the most important part of Christmas?" Because I was decorating it, and this has Santa Clauses, and it's fun. She said, where's the most important part? You haven't put it the most important part. And I knew she was talking about the nativity, and she's used to it being on the piano. So she wasn't sure what was going to happen. I said, oh, that's going to be in the entry. And we're going to make a really neat, important part about nativity. So that kind of satisfied her, but she wasn't really totally happy until I had put it out. Now keep it in mind, she's 5, and I hadn't done a lot of lectures. She was remembering all the things that I had told her in years past. So you might think that you're talking to your children and your family in these casual ways and they won't remember, but they really do. We had talked about Santa Claus, and we allow our children and our grandchildren to have Santa Claus. But she asked me this year, well, tell me about Santa Claus and how does that fit in? So I told her the story of St. Nicholas and how he was a really good man and they later made him a saint. And he was known for doing all these things for people in secret, and how he'd helped those 3 girls, and he had thrown gold coins down the fireplace, and then people started putting their stockings up because he would help them that way. And she had heard the name St. Nicholas before, so that kind of made sense to her. I said, but Santa Claus really he just loves people and he gives people things, and we give each other presents, don't we? And the reason we do that is because the wise men gave Jesus presents. And also, it's a big birthday party. We're having a big birthday party for Jesus. It's the biggest birthday party of all, which is why we decorate, because people decorate for birthday parties. So, and there's presents. And Jesus isn't here to give presents, so we give each other presents because we love each other, and we try to do really good things for people because that's a way we can show Jesus we love him, and he really likes it when we do good things for other people. So that was all making sense to her. She has already decided so firmly that Jesus is the most important part of Christmas that she's going to be like I was. When I found out, I'm just going to say the truth of it all, because I don't know who's going to be watching this. I wasn't upset by it at all, because I already knew that Christmas really was about Jesus Christ. There wasn't a conflict. I didn't have any problems, or I did, that my parents had been lying to me, because they had so carefully taught me about why we really have Christmas. Now, I wondered if you knew why we have bells. So I made this big display with the bells this year, and bells have been just the hot item this year and last year, but particularly this year. So I was thinking, well, why bells? Oh, I wonder if everybody, they just like them, they just think they're cute, they like how they ring. The bells actually have meaning, because sheep wear bells around their necks. My parents went to Israel in like 1972, and my dad used to like to tell a story about how they were walking in a busy place. I think it might have even been Jerusalem, but they were walking along, and here came a shepherd who looked just like they would look at the time of Christ. The clothing was just the same way. He had a shepherd's crook, and all of his sheep had bells. But there were a lot of other shepherds with sheep. And my dad was fascinated by the fact that this shepherd's sheep knew his voice, and they were ignoring all of the other shepherds. So they were walking along, and he said the shepherd was just talking to them in a very soft voice, and they were just following him along. And so the bells actually have that meaning. But do we think about that much? Do we talk about it? Do we tell our children that? There's something else that we do in our home, and it's up all year round. And I know that there are people who don't believe in doing this, but we do. We believe in doing this. And we have some very important pictures of Christ in our home. That's kind of a funny angle, but I wanted to make sure you could see the whole thing. I got this painting of Christ years ago and the children, and I just fell in love with it because I just believe that Christ loves children so much. Well, I eventually had taken it down because this was a really good place to put some decor. So I had Thanksgiving and different signs here. It occurred to me this year, no, you should put this back up and make a permanent home for it. Just like the other picture of Christ, I'll show you. And then this year we put these lights over it so that they illuminate his face. And this one is really special because it does illuminate Christ's face. They're not wired. These are rechargeable battery operated, so I have to pop the batteries out about once a week and put them in there. But I just think that it's really nice how it gives the importance. And if anybody walks in my home and they look down the hall, they're going to see these two pictures of Christ. And of course, our grandchildren do. I put them up. I don't even really talk about them. But my granddaughter will look at that and she knows that Jesus loves her. This is the other picture of Christ, and we've had this in our home ever since we've lived here. It is called Gentle Healer by Greg Olson. And there's a scripture under here that talks about him being wounded for our transgressions. I just love the way it is, and I particularly love it now that we've got it illuminated. So it's great. You come in our home, you're going to see these two pictures of Christ, and without us saying a word, you're going to know what's important to us. So let's look at the nativity finally. So it was really important to Avery and to us that we have something really important about. I like moving it out here. It had been on the piano for years because, again, you walk in our home and you can see immediately what's important to us. So we put the nativity here. I got these pictures from Etsy, downloaded them, had them printed at Walgreens. I really was taken by this one because we have the star shining over Bethlehem. And then, of course, we have some nativities. I found these little angels at Walmart and I used them to fill in. My granddaughter is really sorry that I painted this white last year, and so am I, but it's still there, it's still important. She loves when we are able to put baby Jesus in his manger. And then I had put this out and I thought this doesn't look important enough, and so I decorated these two little trees. And yeah, it does kind of look like a lot. There would be people who go, that's too busy, it's too busy. But it was part of us making sure that this looked important in our home. We have some other advent calendars that we open at night that have like little gifts in them. Avery's the one who moves this around and she just loves it. I pick her up from the bus. She said, Grandma, it's day 6. Can I put it up? And I'm like, of course. This is a replacement for one that I had when my children were growing up that I had made. And it had these little stones, kind of like paths, just felt. And I'd put some Velcro on each one. And they went 1 to 24. And down here was Nazareth. Up at the top was Bethlehem. And then it had a manger. And so we had... I'm trying to think, where was baby Jesus? Baby Jesus was somewhere where you couldn't see him on it. But then you came up, he may have been down here. I'm trying to remember. But then every day you moved up, and then on Christmas Eve you would put baby Jesus in his manger. So I think that Mary was in the felt. The baby slipped in there. If I'm trying to remember right, I had it up for decades. You'd think I'd remember. Well, it finally wore out, and I found this one on Amazon. They may still sell this, but it's really well made, and it's important. I love that Avery is the one who loves to do it. When I was in kindergarten, we were still praying in school, and I would say it was more of a non-denominational school prayer, but we were praying to God and that things would go well during the day. When I was in first grade, there was the Supreme Court ruling that you couldn't pray in school anymore. And I remember how surprised I was as a first grader. Well, it wasn't many years after that you started seeing Xmas appear. And so instead of saying Christmas, people were writing Xmas. And you still see that. I've seen ornaments with that this year. And of course, that was a very clear attempt of taking Christ out of Christmas. And I remember my father saying to you must never write that because Christmas is Christ's birth. He's the reason we're having Christmas, so never ever write Xmas, which I never did. And an interesting thing that has happened recently, as you know, we always used to say happy holidays because there's that song, happy holidays, and it had no meaning other than we're happy. And then in recent years, what has happened in a lot of school districts is they don't let the kids say Merry Christmas, because we can't have Christ in Christmas, so they have to say Happy Holidays, and in some places they're even taking that away. So you have to be careful about that. And I know there are certain businesses that won't let their employees write Merry Christmas in an email. I was very fortunate or blessed that my last employer didn't care, and so we'd write Merry Christmas because it was Christmas. And when I owned a company, it was Christmas. We were doing the 12 days of Christmas. We were celebrating Christmas, and our customers appreciated that. And I guess the ones who didn't, they shopped elsewhere. I hope this was meaningful to you, and if for no other reason, you know, there is somebody else out here that really believes that Christ belongs in Christmas, and we can do our part by making sure that He is center of this. And everything we do and everything we talk about can tie into Christ in some way. Now, I mentioned there's something you can do to help. If you've watched this whole video, you've done something really important, because YouTube looks at some things. Looks through the click-through rate. It looks more at how much of the video was watched. It looks at the comments and the likes. And of course, shares are really important too. But if you made it through this whole video, you've done the most important thing. So this is part of the Vlogmas series, which is 24 videos in a row. In December, I feel a little crazy that I did that. I'm just going from day to day trying to figure out what to do. I hope you'll stick around and see tomorrow's episode. And Merry Christmas. Bye.